Perfect.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret, and the standing streamer. He's put me over, so now I'm putting him over with putting you over.
You know what? Let's just bring him on. Uh, Mike, you can do that unmute thing, and we can get things going.
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for
Hey,
having me.
yeah, no problem. How's it going?
Good, good. Can't complain.
All right. First and foremost, how was the movie that you watched tonight?
So no spoilers. I went with one of my sons to watch Avengers.
How old's your
Um,
son, by the way?
I have three. The one I went with is 12.
Oh, nice, nice.
He's the middle child. My other two saw it yesterday.
Oh,
Well,
of
we
course.
had
They don't
we
want
had
to be there.
basketball practice, so we couldn't go.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I got three daughters myself.
Okay.
Not that old yet. My oldest is gonna turn 10 this summer. My middle is 6. My youngest is 2, like 3. That and so I understand. We had softball all week this week.
Yep.
Travel and rec. It's insane. That's,
Never a dull moment.
no, it's not. Like I would love to be putting on stuff like this more often and making more connections,
Right.
and you just can't do it.
Yep. Yep.
The movie was great, huh?
Yeah. It was. You know what? It's my oldest, who's 14. He saw it. He loved it. I say, in all the Marvel movies, it probably cracks the top 10, but I don't know if it cracks my top 5.
You don't know if it. Wow.
Yeah,
What is
I mean,
it?
so it was good, but it was some slow moments in the middle.
3 hours long, right?
Yeah, it
Titanic,
was
like.
long. It
Yeah,
was
it's good to
long.
have a slow mo.
Yeah,
But I
but
have
no, it
to.
was it was good.
I have to know what are your top 5, Mark?
Uh, so I would say Winter Soldier is up there.
That's good.
Um, eh, or Infinity War is up there. Thor Ragnarok is up there. The first Guardians, and I'm a big fan of Doctor Strange. Like he was one of my favorites as a kid. So and I know that's a partial, that's very specific to me just because I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan.
Yeah,
But the other ones I think hold up. I think most of those would probably be in everybody's top 10,
yeah,
if not their top 5.
most definitely. Um, that's great. We could talk movies all day, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
But what I was saying before I pulled you on is I stumbled across your Twitter. Um, I think what caught my eye, and we'll get to the backstory first, or in a second. But what caught my eye was guys signed a, I guess I'll say signed a deal. I don't know the actual lingo. You
Right.
have House of Hardcore
Yep.
associated with this, and I'm a big ECW. I'm a big Tommy Dreamer. I'm a big House of Hardcore fan myself. And I was like, well, this is interesting. And then I delve into your Twitter and whatnot. So that's how I originally saw you. But what is your background first in wrestling and then in gaming?
Right. So I am not a trained wrestler by any means. I
No.
could do a couple mean moves on my cousin when I was younger, but I
Oh
just
no.
loved it as a young age. I was a wrestling fan. So one day, I think I was probably, I want to say 8 or 9 years old. My neighbor, Brian and Kevin McCartney, down the street, one house down, turned me on to wrestling. And at first, they were talking about, it was funny, they were talking about Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog, and they named all these names. And I was watching, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, so I think Superstars was on at like 11, and I, for some reason, never saw that initially. I only saw the 1 o'clock on channel 17, the Worldwide Wrestling, the NWA product. So I didn't know anybody they were talking about. I'm like, but what about the Rock and Roll Express? What about Dusty Rhodes? What about Nikita Koloff? And I didn't get it initially, right?
Oh,
I didn't
Ricky
know
and
there were,
Robbie, come on.
right. I didn't get though that there were two separate, federations, and again, I thought it. Obviously, I thought it was all real. I thought it was just like any other sporting event that you would see, a boxing event, baseball, football, um, and I loved it. And then eventually, I figured out, there are different federations, like different any other different professional leagues. At the time, I
Yep.
think the USFL was out, so it was like the NFL and the USFL. And that's how I kind of rationalized it in my mind. And I loved it. And video games, I had an Atari 800
Oh my
computer.
goodness gracious.
Was the first thing that we had. My dad brought it home from work. I forget how he got it, but it was basically for the kids when I moved from Michigan to Pennsylvania, and we had Space Invaders, Congo Bongo, Donkey Kong, but obviously no wrestling. And then the first wrestling game I wish would have been pro wrestling on the NES, but it was WrestleMania on the NES,
And
which
that's the first one you played?
yeah, and it was terrible. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, it
the
was.
first that was the first home one I played. Probably the first ever wrestling game I played was Matt Mania in the arcade,
Oh,
and it was at a hotel in Virginia, and I remember it specifically, and I loved it. I put so many quarters, as many as I could get from my parents. I pumped quarters into that machine.
just one after the other after the
Yeah,
other.
absolutely. And I just from that point on, I just loved wrestling games. So I played, a ton of the 8-bit and 16-bit wrestling games, and then I unfortunately, and this is going to be blasphemy to a lot of people, like I had a PlayStation. And I'll date myself a little bit. In college, the PlayStation came out. I think I was a junior, my junior year of college. So I had Sega Genesis and Sega CD up till my sophomore year, and then junior year I got a PlayStation, and Power Move Pro Wrestling came out, and I played that a ton. And not that that was a great game or anything, but it was the best wrestling game I'd ever played it to that point. And I played that a ton, but I did miss out on most of the N64 classics. Now I've since gone back and played them, but it wasn't. I'm not as nostalgic for those games as I was for the 2D games. But WrestleFest in the arcades was by far my favorite wrestling game.
I remember WrestleFest. I don't remember Power Move Pro Wrestling. I had a PlayStation, not
It,
in college, in high school, almost.
right, right.
But I don't remember that one for some reason. I must
I
have been stuck in my WWE, WCW PlayStation later game.
Right, right. Yeah, this one came out pretty. It was before WCW versus the World had come out. This had come out. And it was a port of I forget which Japanese game, but it was a port of a Japanese game.
Yeah, it says
I for
95.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
Uh,
So I was playing that and Resident Evil.
That's
Those were
it.
the two games I played.
What you mentioned something in when you were telling that story, um, on my eye. What was it about wrestling games per se that hooked you? As opposed, I mean,
Right.
you were a wrestling fan, but
Yeah, I mean
there are a lot
that's
of good games out there to play. What was it about wrestling?
I just like I always loved wrestling. I watch now. I'd mentioned WWF, NWA. I loved UWF was on at like 11 p.m. on some UHF station, and I love that with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ted
Oh yeah, now
DiBiase.
you're really dating yourself.
I know, but that was out around 85, 86,
Yeah.
and I love that, and I just I used to wrestle with my cousin all the time, and I always wanted there to be a good wrestling video, and I love
Oh,
video games. And I was just waiting, and I remember reading in before Nintendo Power, there was a Nintendo newsletter, and it was like a black and white piece of paper, um, not piece of paper, but like a 8.5 by
yep.
11 pamphlet, and they mentioned Jesse the Body Wrestling, Jesse the Body Ventura, which never saw the light of day.
Oh, that
And
would
I
have
remember
been great.
it
The
promised
box art
30
alone,
moves. It promised
30.
30 moves, which pro wrestling had like six.
Yeah.
So,
At that time, it's unheard of.
right, and I don't know, just something about combining
Awesome.
them to come by, and it was just disappointing when WrestleMania came out.
Yeah.
For the NES, but they slowly got better. But I'll tell you, when I'm trying to think, it would have been in my like sophomore year of high school, WrestleFest came out, and a buddy of mine worked at an arcade, so I got a lot of free tokens
Yeah.
to play it.
I think that was my first introduction to wrestling video game was the arcade.
Right.
I don't know, was it? It must have been WrestleFest. Might have been
Superstars. It
yeah,
could
it
have been
might have been that one
Superstars.
too. I just remember playing it a lot.
Yeah.
Lot. Um,
I loved them. I loved them. So, at that point, me and my one friend were trying to figure out how to buy a WrestleFest arcade
oh
machine
my
and how
god,
much it would
how
cost.
great would that be?
We obviously, we were like 16, both
Yeah.
making probably $5-6 an hour, so it was kind of out of the question. Plus, our parents probably wouldn't have allowed us to bring it into the house. Now,
Oh,
if my kids came to me with that idea, I would say sure.
I know. I
My
wish
wife
mine
might
would.
have another one like we already had because I built a MAME machine a couple years ago, and I have that. But
Did you? I've been looking into doing something like.
oh, it's awesome,
I mean, I
awesome.
have it all here on this computer,
Yeah, emulators. Yeah, it's nice having it in an arcade,
but
though.
you want the stick, the buttons,
Yeah,
you want a
absolutely,
stand. No.
absolutely.
Um, you mentioned something about the newsletter, and it just got me thinking. For me personally, what I enjoyed about the wrestling game was I had I come from a family of five. Four of us are boys, and I have two younger brothers. And what we always did with our wrestling games was we created our own universes. So we would draft our own. We'd write it down on notepads. We'd draft our own wrestlers. We would script our own shows. We'd book our own matches. We'd have our own titles, and it just brings me back to the days of like e-feds that were
Right,
done through the newsletters, and like you type in it would like it was like a formula. It would spit out the matches. Blah 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 blah
right,
blah. One with the count of three, and that's what attracted me to wrestling programs slash games.
right.
You
Yeah, I mean anything wrestling related, I really ate up. You know.
it's
Yeah,
great. It's like I tell my wife all the time. Is your wife into wrestling?
not at all.
Yeah, neither. Mine was when we were dating. She'd watch it all the time, but not anymore.
Right.
Although she did go to WrestleMania with me, I got to give her
Oh,
props for that.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she enjoyed it too. But what I tell my wife all the time, the cool thing about wrestling is this: everybody either was or is a wrestling fan. That's my belief. Either
But
were,
not everyone will admit it.
and everybody will admit it now.
Yeah.
And it just like, and I said this to her at WrestleMania. I said, like, I am so excited. Like, look how entertaining this is. It's making me feel like a kid, and
Yeah. It's a male
that's
soap opera.
it sure is. And I've watched
Right.
my fair share of soap operas, but it is a male soap. I mentioned with another friend of mine. He's like, I haven't watched WWE in a year. I probably could jump right back in and pick right up on it. That's what I hate. And I'm like, that's what you hate. That's what's
Yeah.
great about it.
Right. Right.
You know. Um. So that's your little background into
Yep.
your wrestling and what you like about games. Obviously, you must have. All right. So tell me about RetroMania Wrestling. Um.
Yeah. So,
Is it just?
so
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is it just you? I
No,
like.
no way.
I was gonna say, like,
No.
This is
I
where.
do the least.
Okay, this you do the least.
Yeah.
You have to come
Of
on with
actual
people like
work.
me.
Yeah, I mean it's my brainchild, so to speak,
But
but I
you're
mean
you're
it's my
delegating
passion
the work.
project. Yeah, so I mean, so I'll give you the basically the story is about 6 years ago.
Yes.
Um, I decided I wanted to add Macho Man, Randy Savage, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the Hart Foundation, and I think Honky Tonk Man and Rowdy Piper to the original WrestleFest. So,
Yes.
and I want to
Yes.
figure out how to do that. You see all these mods. There's a ton
Yep.
of like No Mercy mods, right?
Yes.
But that is, I guess, easier to hack than the arcade ROMs. So I started looking into how to do that, and I didn't get anywhere with it. I went on the Rain message board. Rain is another lesser known arcade emulator for certain types of boards. MAME obviously is a popular
Yep.
one, but Rain was specific for WrestleFest when I first started getting into emulation. But I'd contacted one of their message board to see what my options were, and then came to the conclusion I was going to have to rewrite the engine. Now, my background I have is in accounting, and I have a master's in software engineering. So my other business is accounting and finance software, but I do a lot of database programming within that. So I do have some experience, and I did write a game for my senior my final year for my master's program. So I had some experience in it, so I decided I would write it myself. But with 3 kids, wife,
Right.
I coach basketball. Um, I would get some free time, and then I'd put it down for three weeks, a month, and it's almost like starting over. And
Yeah.
one of my flaws is I'm not the greatest at commenting my code, so I've learned to get better from doing this. But I just didn't get much traction doing it. And then I would come back, pick it up. But then about, I guess, a year and a half ago, I started thinking about, well, what if I did it commercially? Because wanted to hire people to do it, but it wasn't, unless I was going to turn it into a commercial venture, I wasn't ready to spend the kind of money that it was going to take to do it. And not that I'm looking to make a ton of money on this. I think we'll do well, but my
The
it's
basis
more of a
wasn't money
yeah, it's more
driven.
of a passion project that, I looked at the wrestling game market, and the latest WWE games are great. I'm not saying they're not. They're great games. I like Fire Pro as well. Those are the two that are out there. But I think there is another type of game that's, not as much of a sim as Fire Pro. It's more arcade. And more of a simpler game that's just not being made. And if you look at every other genre of video game, there is really 50 to 100, if not more, types of those games out there for people to pick from. But when you get to wrestling games, they're just, you can count them on one hand.
Sure can.
And I don't think anyone is making this specific type of wrestling game, and I think there's a market for it. So that being said, I was like, you know what, let's do it. So then I hired, to get back to your original question, is it just me? So I hired a programmer who has a lot more experience than I do in game development. Um, so we have 2 programmers working on the game. I have now, I think that counts up to 11 artists working on the game. Uh, so a lot of this was eye opening, as I am familiar with writing business software. This is my first jump into game development. So a lot of the things are the same from a design document planning aspect, but like an artwork pipeline was something 18 months ago I was not very familiar with. But I've hired the right people. I have an art director actually working for me who is helping me manage the other artists. And everyone has a lot of experience, more experience than I do in game development. So the people I'm hiring have done it before. So the people actually working on the game do have plenty of experience. And then kind of my right hand man who's helped me with the licensing agreements used to work for the WWE and Acclaim Entertainment, and has been a part of probably 50 titles in one fashion or another. Some of them were the Legends of Wrestling games that came out in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, I remember those.
And he also worked on some of the WWE, I think the 2K games when they were at the early life of those.
Yeah,
So I've surrounded myself with really good people and really talented people to get this done.
well, that's what you want to do.
Right, exactly.
You want to plant the seed. You want to delegate, and it, if you can't do it great yourself, you're gonna find somebody that can do it in your vision.
Right, right. Now I'm definitely involved. I mean, I've edited pixels, I've written lines of code, so I am involved more. Uh, I am involved more than just management of it, and I do all the testing first, and we have a couple other testers that are helping out. But so I'm definitely still involved. Like, it's really important to us to get the gameplay right, and that's what we're really spending the most time on now, is to are concentrating on making a fun game. So
I would think. I do. You mentioned something in what you said, that there is, I believe, as well, and I think that's something that also caught my eye, is that there is a market for this game for wrestling fans and even
right,
retro game fans.
right,
Um, the like you said, there's only 2K, there's Fire Pro, but there's not. I don't even know how I want to classify it. Well, I haven't played it yet, but
Right. Well, this is a 2D arcade, so
right,
2D arcade game. It's kind of if you had to put anything off it, it's like a cross between WrestleFest and Fire Pro, if you want to say the original WrestleFest and Fire Pro, because we are adding more gameplay mechanics to the game. So WrestleFest obviously was a arcade game, and the main uh, design element was how are we going to get people to put more quarters into this,
exactly.
right? So that's was in the back of the programmer's mind. Where I don't have that as a driving motivator for this game. So we've went, there's more move variety. There's some types of controls that are different than WrestleFest, obviously, and borrow things or are inspired by game elements in Fire Pro. So we are, we want more move variety, and then we're licensing wrestlers, which is a huge thing for us, where I think it kind of initially just validated the project
It sure did.
when we signed the Road Warriors. Like I had to have the boss of the original game in this game,
Yeah.
and that's where Mike Archer comes in to help the former WWE guy and Acclaim, because he's helped me navigate, the licensing agreements and things of that nature, and who we can get, who we can't get, because it's pretty complicated as far as who's under WWE agreements and who's not, and who's under what types of agreements. So we've had to be careful in that regard.
Yeah, I had we can jump over to the characters idea. Because I was curious. It does validate it. When I saw Tommy Dreamer in the House of Hardcore, if you guys
Yep.
tweeted it out, I was like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah,
This
that
is
was a big get for us. That was a huge get for us.
because I was, I'm involved in streaming on Twitch, and I love wrestling, and Twitch wrestling is getting big into Twitch with all the promotions and all the wrestlers streaming as well. And I see this, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm interested," and then I check it out, and what even well, I guess this is Mike's territory, but maybe you could shed some light on it. What goes into presenting this to the wrestler to be like, hey, we want your likeness and you in our game?
Well, this was an easy one actually, because
I
Mike
just offered Tommy a
went to,
sub.
well, he went to wrestling school with Tommy.
Oh, there you go.
So they'd known each other from way back. And it's one of the things, keeping in mind that the kind of the difficult thing about it is making the wrestlers realize we aren't WWE and we're not making a WWE scoped game. So they probably spent 10 to 15 million, I have no idea, but 10 to 15 million making the latest WWE game.
Oh,
Who knows? You know what I mean?
probably.
All the motion capture,
Yeah.
all the licensing agreements with the WWE, they're all exclusive deals. And so the first thing is we have to get the talent to understand that we're a small, independent, self-funded game development studio. So, and get their expectations to work with. Now, we're hoping we become big out of this, and maybe this takes off and we have a franchise on our hands. But for right now, we're trying to make one good
Just one game.
alternative wrestling game, right? And so, and the other thing is, we have a limited amount of slots to fill up initially. So we wanted to pick guys that we could work with, that Mike had relationships with, but some of them, I just cold called. I had a friend of a friend get me Blue Meanie's number, and then Mike knew Stevie and Nova. So, and I wanted the Blue World Order. Like they've never been featured in a video game as the Blue
You
World
got the
Order.
New World Order, but nobody's ever had the Blue World.
The Blue World Order.
I like it.
The more entertaining of the two.
Yeah, I like it.
And I'll tell you, those three have been great to work with.
Oh, I can imagine.
All super cool guys, very easy to deal with, and really, I have to say, everybody we've worked with so far has been pretty easy to deal with. So,
were you gonna?
but yeah, I mean, it's a combination of Mike calling them or me just getting an email and being able to get an email back. I know these guys get a lot of emails, so I'm sure it could get lost in the email chain or wherever in their email inbox. But pretty much everybody I contacted emailed me back. Now we couldn't come to agreements. We talked to some other people that I won't name, but
Oh
we
damn,
couldn't
that
just
was funny.
we couldn't get a we couldn't get an agreement together. But there was an amicable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were still pleasant to deal with. I had no problems with them, and they were straightforward with me, and I was straightforward with them. So
Nice. How many guys do you want in the game?
I want all of them.
You want them all?
All right. So unfortunately, I don't have an unlimited supply of money to get everybody I want. So we're trying to get, minimum bare minimum will be 12. We're trying to get up to 16 for initial launch. But you have to, and I don't want to sound whiny or cry me a river or anything, but I see a lot like, oh, you should get this guy, this guy, this guy. I would love to get everybody,
Right.
but you know it's not only the licensing agreement, then there's the artwork that needs to be done to make each of these guys unique, and then we have to animate additional moves for each specific guy, because our move sets are going to be pretty specific to the talent that we're getting.
It should be. I think that's
Yeah,
a selling point.
exactly. And so we're spending the time and the money to make sure that we have the proper animations in the game. So each additional person we add, there's a decent amount of incremental cost to it. So we're trying to fit as much as we can to get into our launch game as possible. And then we hope, if we're successful and we can sell a few copies, then we'll use that money coming in to strike new deals with new people and add some more via DLC. So really, the sky's the limit if we can, if people like what we're offering them.
Cycle what you make, recycle it, put it back in, especially at the start.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make, like I said, we want to make a great 2D arcade wrestling game.
I think, if it was me, I very self-centered sometimes. If this was my project, I would look at it like this: who can I bring into the game that's gonna stand out? That's gonna have good look, Blue World Order, a good move set. Got Tommy Dreamer, Zack Sabre Jr., iconic. Got LOD. It's the uniqueness that is making
Yeah, and that's what we're
it stand out, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. Like, if you look at our roster, we have guys from the 70s, 80s, you know, 90s, 2000s, and
Yep.
up till today.
Yep.
And we're trying to vary that roster and just get anybody and everybody we can get. That we're trying to get a nice mix. So if you're a wrestling fan, you'll be able to relate with a couple of the characters in our game, or want to play as a couple of the characters in our.
I didn't even know Austin Idol. I saw him on the roster list, but I had to buffering. But I had to Google him. I don't know if anyone can.
Regional guy. He was in the NWA. He was on some Mid Atlantic wrestling. All the territory days. He made his way through the territories.
Sorry about that. We had some sort of buffering. I don't know if you noticed it on your.
I didn't notice it, but
Good.
I guess you
That's
did.
all I care. That's all I care. As long as you didn't notice it, we're fine.
All right.
We are fine. Oh, great. My other computer went into hibernation. You can't see it because I have the camera for OBS in the stream, but I just went completely like.
No worries.
So what aspect of production is the game in right now at this moment?
So we have a working alpha where we can play a match from start to finish.
Oh my God, really?
We still have, and I'm going to start releasing gameplay videos of that. I'm going to start doing a developer's blog, probably in the next. I want to say the next week, but it might be a week or two. So currently we're using, the way the art pipeline works is we do all the wrestling animations in a generic looking the stuff I've posted on Twitter, but it's a bald guy basically in his underwear, right?
Yeah, I was wondering that because I was gonna grab some of that footage to show it tonight, and then I was like, "Is that even their live gameplay footage?"
No.
And I was like, "I don't want to."
So it is. I mean, it is live. That's in game.
Right. That is you. That
those
is
are the animations, but the actual characters are going to be drawn over those animations. So we just finished Hawk and Anna. Like, I don't know, 800 individual sprites of each of them, and we still need to add a few more unique moves to the process of putting them in. And our goal is to get them in the game in the next couple weeks, so we actually can start showing footage of actual wrestlers in the game as well.
That will attract more eyes as
Play a match from start to finish. There's a lot of gameplay tweaking that needs to happen as far as how powerful the moves are, how much damage they do, balancing when you're playing someone, things of that nature. And right now we don't have any AI in. We just started working on that. So it's a 2-player game really at this point, unless you want to just do moves on a mindless opponent.
everyone.
But we've added like corner grapples. We've done apron moves. You doing suicide dives outside the ring, top rope. Basically we created an animation for every type of wrestling move, and we've have them all working in the engine right now. So it's going to be a matter of just we're aiming to release Q1 of next year. So it's just going to be, we have the core gameplay mechanics pretty much ironed out. I'm sure we're going to have to make some tweaks once we open it up for more people to test. But we're just going to be adding content from here on out.
Now, for somebody of average mind as myself, Q1 is when?
I'm sorry. First quarter, so that's January, February, March of 2020.
I knew it was a business term.
Yeah,
and
sorry.
I knew it was,
Q1 is January, February, March. Q2 is the next 3 months. Q3 and so on.
So it's like a pregnancy. It's like trimester.
Kind of, yeah.
Sorry, I was very involved in the birth of my
worries.
children. So that's great, and I think getting footage of the wrestlers, because I've seen the footage that you put out. It's great. Superplex City was my favorite tweet.
Oh, right, yeah.
Everybody loves Suplex City, but you're really gonna love Superplex City.
Right.
Which is an underrated move, not used much anymore. I don't know if it's been, or at least in the WWE, been eradicated, but I only see like Randy Orton use it. That's it.
Yeah, I think he did it at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
But
yeah,
you hardly ever see it.
Well, there was that odd 8-person superplex in that tag team match at WrestleMania.
Oh gosh, those I can't stand when I see something like that. I'm gonna veer off for a second. I told you this, my ADHD goes. I see something like that, and the first thing I do if I'm watching it at home on TV, I just watch the one guy in the move that's like, oh man, I don't have him correctly. And I think most recently it was like, it might have been Samoa Joe. He didn't have anybody. He's just like, takes his arms and goes like this. Oh man, but
whoa! Stop
the superplex. So, but what I was saying was, you get the wrestlers in, you draw them over, you get Legion of Doom. Hell, you get gameplay footage of them doing their finisher, and tweet that out. Eyes are gonna open up. People are gonna want to play the game, which I think is gonna be the buzz.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. I mean, once we have the actual characters in the game, it's going to get really exciting, I think.
People are going to be excited.
Yeah. They'll see more of it for, an actual, wow, this is really happening. We're done seeing the guys in the underwear.
You take the Blue World Order and have them attack Tommy Dreamer in a House of Hardcore ring.
Right.
I mean, that game is sold, in my opinion, right off the bat. What was that? Oh, we'll continue on the game aspect of things. What platforms do you want to bring this game out on?
So we definitely are doing PC. We need approval for the consoles. So I can't confirm they're going to be on them yet, but we are seeking approval from Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft.
Now, how does something like that work? Like, I would think that'd be easy to do.
Well, they have to approve it. They don't just let anybody in on the console. So, they do let a lot in, and I don't think we're going to have a problem getting on it. I just can't say that we're on them yet because we aren't officially on them yet.
Now,
would it be we're goal? Every comment I read every day, I at least see this will be great on the Switch. This would be great on the Switch.
Oh, it would.
So, And we
I don't even
completely
have a
agree.
Switch, and I
Right, we
agree it would.
completely agree. But I mean, I don't want to, as a an independent game developer, you want to reach as many people as possible. I mean, most developers want to reach as many people as possible. So we want to get it out on all consoles and the PC.
Yeah, I don't have a Switch, but from what I know, it seems like it'd be amazing on the Switch. Playing it while you're on the toilet. I don't know,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, that's see. We're now say this. Would it be literally a physical game? Could I go to Target and pick it up for the Xbox?
Um, that's to be determined. So we're definitely doing download. We'll see when we get a little
Is
closer if that'll be an option.
I would think that would be cost.
Right. So
Cost.
it's a different market. Then you're looking at manufacturing costs
Yeah.
and getting a distributor. So there's different aspects to releasing on physical media. So we're it's something we are looking into though.
Oh,
It's definitely something we're looking into.
Now, I know you weren't going to mention the wrestlers that you couldn't strike deal.
Yeah, I don't want to throw anybody's name because you never know. You know what? You never know.
Oh, you never know, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that. But is there anybody that you haven't? Is there anybody you're looking to put in that you haven't contacted yet?
So I'll tell you this, we have 11 spots nailed down so far, and we are working on the 12th.
But I've only seen 8.
Yeah, we haven't announced them all yet. The rest, there's more coming out.
I
but we're
like
trying
that.
to, obviously the last one we
It's got me
released were
excited.
the BWO,
Yeah.
which is 20 days ago, not
Yeah.
even. So we're trying to space it out for it's a marketing strategy.
No, it is. It sure is.
We're trying to space it out, and
That is
so
smart. Use one of those black silhouettes that they use for the mystery partner.
right. So but yeah, we're working on finishing a deal, and then we're gonna sharpen our pencils and see what budget we have left. Because you can put a number in a budget for licensing, but you don't know until you talk to the guys. So
that boggles. I would have no concept of what it would take.
Hey, you don't know until you ask, right?
Well, I mean, based on this show alone, when I try to get people for this show, this is what I do, and I did it with you, and I've been doing it with everybody. I've been off for the week. That's why I try to get as many people as I can. Right. I'm like, look, I'm a small streamer. This is what I do. Blah blah blah. This is who I've gotten, and would you want to do it? And you're not gonna hurt my feelings if you tell me no. You're not gonna hurt my feelings if you tell me to go f myself. I was raised. You're never gonna know unless you ask. So it's probably along the same lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
That,
Yeah, I mean, you see how far you are apart. I mean, basically, we've signed everybody for roughly the same deal. So we have a specific budget to spend, and we gotta like I said, we're not. I'm self-funding this.
Yeah.
And have maybe I have one other investor in it with me. And so and games aren't cheap to make, at least not good ones.
Now,
right? I mean, the number of animations alone, the artwork we've had to create for this, I think there's a reason why there aren't a ton of other wrestling games out there, and it's because they are a lot of work to make and make well.
Did it ever cross your mind to put this on like a Kickstarter?
Yeah, I feel Kickstarter maybe has given some games a bad rap. There's a lot that don't see the light of day, and people get kind of taken for their money, and I'm trying to avoid it. I think it could be a possibility maybe when we actually release the game, and then we want to do a DLC pack with maybe 4 more specific wrestlers, and it'll be a way for us to gauge interest in those 4 wrestler packs, and maybe that's a way. And we've already, at that point, us as a studio will already have a proven track record, and people will be like, well, I know these guys are for real. They already put this game out on their own dime, and they believe in it. and I would love to see these wrestlers in it. So, we thought about it a little bit, but I think we can do it without Kickstarter, and I believe in this project, and we have the means. So, I'm not ruling it out for maybe DLC or something like that, but I think it's a good idea. I think there's a market for it, so I'm not as concerned with getting basically what Kickstarter is pre-orders, right?
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
I'm willing to take that chance and say, you know what, I'm going to make a good game. People are going to have fun with it, and they're going to want to play it, and they're going to want to buy it.
Yeah. The Kickstarter thing just popped in my head. I don't know.
No, it's not and I'm not knocking it at all. I think it's
Yeah.
a great platform, and there's games we would never have seen or been able to play without it. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I
think the
it's,
DLC avenue of the Kickstarter for where you are and how you've explained how far you guys are along, I think the DLC aspect is a good way to go because it does gain or gauge interest.
right.
What was? Oh gosh, I can't remember now. I hate when that happens.
Well, I'll give you a hot topic.
Yeah, there you go.
Create a wrestler.
Oh,
right?
Yes. I'll tell you what. That is a hot topic. You're a good man. I like you.
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna dodge the question because it comes up all the time. Like, one tweet the other day, I think yesterday or today actually was, well, it's a standard now in wrestling games. And I go, that may be true,
right.
but there's only 2 wrestling games out. So how much of a standard is it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not to knock it though. I mean, it's been a feature in most, if not all, wrestling games, but it's a lot of money to do right and to do well. And when you put that in the realm, then we're competing with Fire Pro, and Fire Pro does it amazingly.
I agree.
So we rather concentrate on our aspects that'll set us apart, which are a different type of gameplay and unique eclectic roster that we're putting together that people will want to play our characters. And that's not to say we'll never do a creative wrestler, because I'm not against it, but if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right and well. And I think our biggest concern right now is to get the gameplay down, and that's where we want to spend our resources, is getting a good wrestling engine created and getting a bit small but a nice roster of characters that people will want to play with.
That's what attracted me to the game, was your eclectic roster, and then as long as you nail down the gameplay,
right,
I'm hooked.
Yeah, and I think and that's what we're concentrating our efforts are. And look, if, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but
Yeah.
if we get a little momentum and we get some success, we'll definitely look at doing a creator wrestler. Definitely not going to rule it out. And if for our initial launch, we won't have it because we just don't have the time and budget to do it.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, in today's day and age, everybody wants everything all at once immediately. So you're going to hear all of those comments.
Yeah, you're going to hear
this, and this. You know?
Yep. Yeah, and you just got, and I like addressing it just because I don't want to feel like we're dodging the question. We understand it's a really cool and neat, and it's an awesome feature to have.
It's a great hot topic. Good one. Because I've done entire universes on Creator Wrestler alone.
Right.
In WWE 2K for years. I created my friends.
Absolutely.
I created viewers. I created, old wrestlers. Never created the Blue World Order though. Them and Matt Striker. Never created Matt Striker.
But yeah, this will be the first game they've been officially a part of.
Oh, is that
same with Austin
right?
Idol? Yeah.
Wow, they were never.
I think they were in games individually, but not as the Blue World Order.
That's something to hang your hat on. To tell you the truth.
Yeah.
We'll go out and get the Latino World Order. So I put out a promo tweet as I was trying to set things up, and well, you can't see it, but I love La Parka. I put my La Parka mask on. I did.
Yeah, I did see that.
And I'll tell you what, I went to great lengths to put that promo tweet out, because I wrote it down on the paper like people do for those for those Reddit
Right.
AMAs. I go, oh, I'm gonna be cool. Write it down, and I get ready to do the video, and I do it, and I hold the paper up, and it's all backwards, and I'm like, oh crap. I was like, well, I could go and shoot the video and then just flip it and then post
Right.
it, and I was like, I don't got that time, so I take the time to write the stupid thing backwards in my La Parka mask. Well, right over here, well, you can't see it. Right over here, there's a bar. Downstairs in my house, there's a bar right over here. And I'm writing it down, and then I hold it up, and then I'm thinking to myself, man, La Parka would be great for this. He's got a unique look. He's got a unique style. He's the chairman. He's got good, unique moves. Has that entered your mind?
No, I'll tell you, we've brainstormed just about everybody,
Just
and there's reasons we've put together the guys we have. We have a list. We've already probably have a list down to 20 that we
nice.
want to get, in order. That's subject to change, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, we've definitely thought about it. We're definitely gonna try to get that style in at some point. It was tough. I mean, it's tough for me, especially growing up when I did. There's a lot of guys I wanted to get in. There are guys I was crushed that found out they had Legends deals and we couldn't get them, and the
Oh,
things of that nature.
I know. I mean,
But we'll consider. I mean, look, I would love to get as many people. If this takes off, we're gonna get as many guys as we can get in. So
it. I think you know. Obviously, we can talk in a big aspect. Takes off, blows up. There will be a market for the wrestlers that you can't get on WWE.
right,
You know,
right,
can't. Well, I guess you can get everybody on Fire Pro, but it has that value, has that uniqueness that you're going for.
right, right.
Um, so I think you guys are on the right. I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be cool. Like, I'm playing it now. I'm having fun. Like if you really loved WrestleFest, you'll love this. If you love Fire Pro, I think you'll like this. I mean, it's a little faster paced. It's not as, I would say, as strategic as Fire Pro. There's still some button mashing involved, not a ton, but there's still some. But we're our big thing is the controls, and we think the controls feel real good. And we have a couple alpha testers we're gonna start testing with shortly, and then we'll probably do a beta in a couple months.
I'm excited because I'm picturing this game at like you talked about building your own cabinet.
Yep.
It would be great to just because I've wanted to do one forever. It'd be great for me to motivated enough to do it with this game. Take this game, you know, get it for the PC. Do what I need to do with the cabinet. Put it right over here.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm probably gonna repaint mine and get some additional artwork on it from this game.
It looked great. The
Yeah.
game has that arcade look.
Yeah, absolutely. That artist is Fran Gonzalez. He did that. He's out of Spain. He works for Fu Essence uh, Studio, and he is phenomenal. He did all the character artwork for us, including the
Oh,
shirt I'm wearing
nice,
of the Road Warriors.
nice.
But he just did a phenomenal. I love his style. He's done some other projects I've worked on in the past, just some hobby stuff he's done artwork for before. So when I got this, I definitely wanted to get him involved.
Yeah, I mean, and you got Zack Saber Jr.
Yeah, so he's going to be tough because we're working on his moves now,
Yeah,
and
yeah. How many?
implementing his style into the game is a challenge. But that's why we wanted to get him.
Yeah,
And really enjoy his matches. Um, but it's different, and to get him, I just thought, what, he'd be a great, different type of wrestler to have in this game. And he was a super nice guy. Great. I talked to him personally a couple times,
nice.
and he was easy to deal with and really a great guy.
Um, something just popped in my head. I don't know if it was what I forgot earlier. Announcers. What
Yep.
will you incorporate? Will
Yes,
it?
and I can't have any. I don't have any details yet to announce on that, but yes, we are incorporating announcers. So we're the the what we're looking to do is, if you're familiar with NBA Jam,
Oh yes.
right? So we're looking for kind of that type of commentary in the game. So kind of something similar to that, if I had to compare it to anything. So we're not looking for full voiceover because I don't think it would fit the retro style game that
Right.
we're doing, but something a little bit more than Jake DDT, which was in the original WrestleFest, right? DiBiase $1 Million Dream. Something a little more than that,
Right.
but not full on complete commentary of the match.
All right. Well, I'll start cutting my sizzle reel.
All right.
But yeah, it was that might have been what I was thinking about earlier. That would NBA Jam style. So it would be
Yeah.
like a boom shakalaka. You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
That would be great.
Yeah, I think it fits the type of game we're looking to do.
I agree. You know, in when I look at the game and when I've heard everything that you've said today, I feel it's something I could hand my kids like a controller and be like, here's a wrestling game you can sit down and have a ball with and
Right,
play
yeah.
without like
It's funny.
stressing about like my kids can't play WWE. Okay, just can't. They don't have it's a lot for them.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean like I told this story somewhere else, but I was playing Spider-Man, the latest one
Yeah.
for the PS4. My son, my oldest son 100%ed it and he's like, "Dad, you got to play this." So I'm like, "All right." So, and this is going to make me sound really old, but it is what it is. So I sit down a Friday night. He helps me, he helps me for an hour, and I'm learning the controls. And it uses on the PlayStation Pad both sets of shoulder buttons,
Oh my
all the
god.
face buttons, the D-pad, and both analog sticks. Right. So I'm learning how to do everything, and it was good. I figured it out. By the end of the night, I was proficient in it. Not great, but I could get around. But then I don't play it for a week because when you're an adult, unfortunately, you don't have as much free time typically, especially if you have kids and a family, to sit and play video games hours on end. So I play it a week later, and I forget everything. You know what I mean? And then I can barely do anything. It's frustrating. But with our game, it is going to be something that's it's a little more simpler. It's more pick up and play ish. Like, hey, this looks cool. These characters look cool. I'll sit down and play a couple matches of this. You know what I mean? And then we want to make it fun enough where there's an additional replay value to it,
Yes.
and you'll want to play your friends. It'll be a good couch play type of game, and just something you can sit down and have a lot of fun with.
Online capability.
To be determined. Yeah,
Um,
so we're looking at it though. We're
another
definitely looking at it and testing it.
another rapid fire question I just thought of. I
Sure.
looked up at somewhere. I saw a PC. That's where you're driving for at least first.
Yep.
Um, will you? I might be out of my realm here. Uh, will you allow mods? Will it be moddable?
Uh, it's a good question. I'm not sure.
I
Not
I don't even know
initially.
how that works. Like,
Well,
would you
the
go through
way that
Steam?
so the application we're using to run, I mean, obviously anything's hackable, I
Right. Yeah.
guess, when you look at it
I
that
mean,
way.
would you allow mods? I mean, would you
It's
be
not like I'm
open
gonna
to
go
it?
after people and sue them, if
Right.
that's what you're asking.
No,
You
I mean I
know,
can't mod anything, but I'm
but
not asking for my personal.
I mean, I could see there being, if it gets popular enough and down the line, you never know.
Yeah,
You never know.
I just I don't know why it popped in. Just did.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, if we are successful and it gets to that point, I'm hoping we can create, add the creation suites to the game and allow people to do that and us support them in doing that and make it, make it a good community and be able to support the community that follows the game.
Excellent. All right, Mike. I told you one of my selling points when I try to get people for the show is I tell you I'm not going to keep you more than an hour, and we're coming up on that hour.
All right.
So, and I think we've hit all the great points tonight. I think you've done a phenomenal job. I don't know if you've ever done something like this, but you've done an amazing job tonight.
Well,
Selling
thank you.
your
I
game.
appreciate that.
Yes, you have. So you should be proud of yourself. But what I liked,
Barry Horowitz.
So Barry, yeah, there you go, there you go. Oh, I see where you're going with that. What I like to do at the end of the shows is I'm gonna leave this time for you. So this last, I don't know, 2 minutes, whatever you want to take. It's your time to shine. You can plug anything you want. You can say anything you want, and I'll let you. This time is yours. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, if anyone wants more information on the game, I mean, we tweet a lot of stuff, wrestling related, video game related, on our Twitter at RetroSoft Studio. RetroManiaWrestling.com is our webpage, which we update as well with information. There's information about the roster, there's cool looking graphics on there, and just keep an eye out for more stuff coming. We're hoping we're making something people can get excited about, and that's it.
Sink their teeth into it. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent, Mike. I want to thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I'm gonna let you go. I mean, you were great. So have yourself a wonderful night.
You too.
I'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, we got a show in. Yeah. Good job, K-Dog. Big shout out to RetroMania Wrestling. I hope it came off well.
Started out as a curtain jerk jobber, made my way to mid-card father. Went to Japan and